morning. Come to a place this morning where, if the proposal for the reservoir goes ahead, would be underwater by at least 25 metres. And this morning, just going to look at the safety issues that are being raised regarding the embankments. And a previous piece I did that, I said that the risk was relatively low, and I think it's fair to say it probably will still be fairly low. But it's been called to question whether this should be included in the EIS that Thames Water has to submit. So effectively they're asking, should the embankment walls, the specification for those be checked before the approval is given? And that seems like a sensible thing to do in my books. Some of the questions have been raised are, has the actual structure been checked? Has the effect been checked or not? Vale of White Horse have also called for an inquiry because the dam structure hasn't been proven, and it should be something that is called into the EIA, which is this sort of pre-approval piece. And they said, given the potential serious consequences, even in the unlikely failure of the wall, that the seriousness of this breach should be considered the proximity to a housing and the volume of water we're talking about. Abingdon Town Council have also questioned this, and they've got a lot to lose considering they're downstream. Should a dam wall fail, the vacation of the water from the reservoir will be into Abingdon. So there's potential for flooding there should there need to be a significant dump of water. And also the Environment Agency have also said, who's checking this stuff? They're not quite sure why this has been removed from the scope for the EIA. And that's a question itself when the Environment Agency is saying we would expect to see all sources of flooding assessed and mitigation in place. So there's some significant organisations here questioning, or at least saying this should be in scope to start with, and I think that's a reasonable request. There should be at least an assessment of the safety which is being claimed, and it's an unproven model, so who knows whether it will hold up. It should do, because it's built to reservoir 1975 Reservoir Act standards. If it's built to that, it should be okay. And even on page 42 of the inspector's own report, they said that, following guidance and advice from the Environment Agency and other bodies, that this should be scoped into the EIA. So the question is, why is this not happening? What's the reason for not actually going ahead and putting some data in that's going to prove that it's perfectly safe? Or do we just not have that data to hand? So Thames Water, please, can we have a proper study done with regards to the embankments that proves for once and for all it's a perfectly safe build? And maybe if you can't build it on the scale you're talking about, maybe you can scale it down and make it work with that. And let's not forget, the edge of the embankment, so the bottom of the embankment, which is about 100 metres wide at the bottom, is only 300 metres from the nearest houses from the Hanny side. Okay, so as you head out down the Steventon Road, you go past the farm that's on the left there, about 300 metres from there will be the edge of the embankment. You're not talking about very far from being close to the edge of the village, should something happen. So we also know that the cost is spiralling from 2.2 billion to 7 billion or more. And I was informed when I spoke to Mike Gregg, who's the finance lead for GARD, he's in a previous video if you saw that, he was saying that the land, which I thought was part of that 6 billion, wasn't included. So the land grab will add to the 6 billion or nearly 7 billion. That's already the cost that's being expected. So, why this wouldn't end up being somewhere closer to 10 billion, who knows? I mean, it's heading that way when you start thinking about compensation. So there's an impact on the finances. There's a question also about the safety and the fact that it hasn't been checked or signed off by anybody. There's a lot of assumptions that it will be safe, and there's some tests that have been done that, to my knowledge, I haven't seen any results for. There's the increase from 2 billion to 7 billion. That's quite a big gap, isn't it? I mean, how did you get from 2 billion to 7 billion? And that's 250% increase in the estimated costs. So where's that come from? And how can you make such a mistake just 2 years down the line? And then we know this isn't the end of it. We know there's more coming. What will that be put down to? Unexpected land grab due to environmental issues that we didn't understand in the first place. This reservoir needs to be really looked at by the Secretary of State for the Environment, who is actually Emma Reynolds. I mistakenly said Steve Reed before, but apparently he's been replaced by Emma Reynolds. So if you want to write off to Emma Reynolds, the Secretary of State, perhaps the Vale of White Horse, answer the survey for Thames Water and put your opinions forward, sort of questioning the size of the overall project, the 250% increase in cost, the land grab that's going on. There are many different topics that can be discussed. We're just scratching the surface potentially on this. If you want more information, go visit the Guard website. They've got lots of information there with regards to this. There's a lot of Thames Water information that gives nice pictures, doesn't really give the scale, certainly doesn't give the size of the embankment. So we've headed back down the 338. We're now on the road to Steventon, and just looking at how far away the embankment edge will be from the village. So here you can see the houses with the farm just there, and the houses here. This is about 300 metres away, and about the same sort of distance onto those houses there, the sort of similar houses that are on the road to Steventon as well. So 300 metres is not that far from the edge of the village, and this is why we've got quite a few residents who are concerned that should there be a breach in the dam wall, the volume of water that be heading their way potentially could be significant. And I think actually it's closer on the Hannay side than it is on the Steventon side. So there you go, 300 metres from the bottom of the embankment. The embankment's about 100 metres in width, 25 metres high, and the water stretches a couple of kilometres in that direction towards Drayton. It's a beautiful day. I've been out my bike, which is why I'm huffing and puffing a little bit. But yeah, if you get a chance to come out and have a look, there's some really great walks out here. Thanks for watching.